Hey, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to go over my Scorpion releasing Blu-rays and DVDs. And those movies consist of these two shelves here, so it's like a shelf and a half. I will go through and show you guys everything that I have in my collection, give you some suggestions of movies that maybe you should check out. And as always, you can always give me feedback and suggestions of movies I should pick up from Scorpion releasing. So kick your feet up, chill, and let's go through and see what I have for my Scorpion releasing movies. Okay, so getting into the first shelf here, everything should be alphabetized. There may be one or two out of place. I kind of did this in a hurry. But Scorpion Releasing is a kind of a micro company. It's owned and operated by Walt Olson, who is the brother of Bill Olson from Code Red DVD, which is now a defunct label. Scorpion Releasing still releases movies from time to time. I know Walt does a lot of work with Kino Lorber, so they do a lot of releases for Kino now. But these are strictly the Scorpion Releasing titles. I haven't picked up too many of these over the last couple of years just because they haven't been releasing any new movies lately. They have been doing re-releases, and I'll talk more about that as I go along here. But starting here in the beginning, we have A Candle for the Devil, and this is a movie from the 70s, I think, 1973. It's kind of a satanic possession type movie. And then they have a Western, and that's another thing about this company, is they had a pretty good variety of films to watch, from horror movies to action, comedy, westerns. They had just about everything that you could want in their catalog. This one stars Willie Nelson and Gary Busey, called Barbarossa. Movie from 1982. It's rated PG. And they also had some sexploitation type movies, comedy movies, and this is called Beach Girls. Let me see if I can get past that glare. And this movie is from 1982 as well. It's a 70s drive-in, kind of a sex romp type comedy. Next one is called Charlie Chan and the Curse of the Dragon Queen. There's a young Michelle Pfeiffer in here. Angie Dickinson is also in here, as well as Roddy McDowall and, did I say Brian Keith? Brian Keith is in here as well. There's Roddy. There's a very young and lovely Michelle Pfeiffer. There's Angie Dickinson. Always had a big crush on Angie Dickinson. Next one is a Michele Soavi picture called The Church, produced by Argento. And this one was re-released. The movie's from 1989. This is the unrated version of the movie on a 2K scan. It says it has over 45 hours of color correction. And they re-released it a couple years later with this beautiful slipcover. I think it's the 2-disc. Was the other one 2-disc as well, or was it just 1-disc? Let me see. Yeah, it looks like this one is just 1-disc. Let me pop it open really quick. Yeah, this is just a 1-disc edition, kind of a plain Jane, but they re-released it a couple years later with 2 discs and a slipcover. It's a pretty cool movie. Next one is a kind of a trauma action emergency type movie called City on Fire, starring Leslie Nielsen, Henry Fonda, Shelley Winters, and Ava Gardner. Ava Gardner was a former Mrs. Sinatra at one point. This movie came out in 1979. It is all region. There's Henry Fonda, Leslie Nielsen. Next one is called Curse 3, Blood Sacrifice, starring Christopher Lee. And Scream Factory released Curse 1 and 2 on a double feature, so it's good to have this one. Kind of complete the trilogy. Movie from 1991. Christopher Lee, always sharp. Very good actor. This one's called Day of the Animals. Christopher George, Leslie Nielsen again, Linda Day, his Christopher George's wife, and Richard Jekyll was also in here. Next one is called Death Ship. And this one was re-released also with a slipcover. Movie from 1980. Pretty good practical effects in it too. It says, "What in the living hell is on board?" Pretty good movie. Has some pretty good special features too. It has an anamorphic widescreen transfer. You can watch it in Katarina's Nightmare Theater. You can listen to the music track isolated, so you don't have to watch the movie to listen to the music. And it has a featurette called Learn What the Ship is Saying. I would recommend this one to you guys. In 1980, 91 minutes. And they re-released it with this beautiful slip a few years later. So I think it basically has the same special features. Joan Collins and Donald Pleasance and Caroline Munro in The Devil Within Her. This is one I haven't watched yet. Had this movie for a long time. Still have not watched it. I love Caroline Munro. Donald Pleasance is always pretty good. Was it him? Was it Michael? Did he kill again? I love Donald Pleasance. Next one's called The Dirt Bike Kid, starring Peter Billingsley, who was Ralphie in A Christmas Story. Dr. Death, Seeker of Souls. It's a movie from 1973. Let's see here. There's a little bit of special features. You get a high def scan from the camera negatives. You get a couple of interviews, so pretty decent. Next one's called Dogs. I watched this one. It wasn't too bad. It wasn't great either by any stretch of the imagination, but it was entertaining enough. 1976 this one came out. I'm a huge dog lover, and I don't like to see when they portray dogs as evil, you know. Here's one called Don't Answer the Phone. This is really good. The remastered edition of it. Looks pretty good. They did a good job with this one. 1980, 90 minutes. I don't think this one has subtitles, though. If you guys are like me and you like to watch movies with subtitles, this one did not have that. Had a pretty creepy killer, though. Good movie. Okay, so where did we leave off here? I had to go get a sip of water. The next one's called Don't Go in the House. This was a reversible cover. This is a movie from 1980, 91 minutes, rated R. This is another good one. This see if pop this open really quick and we can take a look at the cover. This is what the original cover looked like, and I'm sure most of you guys remember that one, recognize that. And then here's the disc art. And I would definitely recommend this one. It's a fun watch. Pretty suspenseful. Next one is kind of a spy action thriller, Firepower, starring Sophia Loren and James Coburn. And it has the Juice, O.J. Simpson. Also has Eli Wallach. A lot of you guys would recognize him from spaghetti horror movies, spaghetti western movies. Hey, that would be a good subgenre, spaghetti horror movies. Next one is another serial killer movie called The First Power, starring Lou Diamond Phillips. But don't let that distract you. Don't pass the movie up just because Lou Diamond Phillips is in it. It's still a pretty good movie. I'm joking. There's nothing wrong with Lou Diamond Phillips. I'm not the biggest fan of him, but it's a good movie, though. Next one's called Flavia the Heretic. Digitally remastered. Very weird movie. Kind of a nunsploitation type movie. From 1974. 101 minutes. Next one's called Force 5. 1981. Kind of a martial arts action type movie. Those were pretty popular in the 80s. Here is Giallo in Venice. This one's pretty hard to come by now. Very grisly and hardcore giallo killer movie. Next one's called Girly. I think this is a British horror film from 1969. It's a black comedy. Takes place in London about a flirtatious schoolgirl with eyes on fire. So she's a seducer. She's a man-eater. Next one's another serial killer movie called Goodbye, Gemini. Another Judy Geeson movie. She was in A Candle for the Devil. And Michael Redgrave is also in here too. 1970. And here's kind of an epic war movie. Go Tell the Spartans, Burt Lancaster. Movie from 1977, rated R. It's an anamorphic widescreen. And according to this, Burt Lancaster gives one of his best performances of his career. And we have a killer bear movie called Grizzly. And let's see where the tagline is. Jaws with claws. This was kind of a cash-in on the success of Jaws from the 70s. This movie came out in 76. And they were even touting this movie as Jaws with claws. They weren't even trying to hide that they were trying to cash in on that. And then they re-released it with this beautiful slipcover. Really nice. So I do recommend this movie, and if you can, track it down with the slipcover. It's really, really cool. You get a bunch of special features on here too. You get anamorphic master widescreen in HD. You get a new 5.1 surround mix. You get a new audio commentary. Excuse me, my throat's been really itchy the last few days. I don't know what's up. Here's the featurette called Jaws with Claws, an interview with the producer David Sheldon. And then Katarina's Fun Facts segment. Here's kind of a post-apocalyptic type movie called Hardware. It's pretty cool. Kind of a futuristic sci-fi horror film. This one's pretty weird. I never finished this movie. It's called Harlequin. I I bought this movie a long, long time ago and I never finished it. From 1981, 96 minutes. It's very bizarre. It wasn't really my cup of tea, I'll be honest. Next one's called The Haunting of Morella. David McCallum. Nicole Eggert is in here. Lana Clarkson. And let me put this up here. So let me see. Try to get a good angle here so it's not ruining the picture. But this one came out in 1990. It is rated R, 80 minutes running time. And Nicole Eggert was at her A game. She was in Charles in Charge and Baywatch. She was a beautiful young lady. And this was when she was at her A game in the early 1990s. The next one's called Hollywood Boulevard. It says shamelessly loaded with sex and violence. It's a movie from 1976. 83 minutes running time, rated R. Dick Miller is in here. He was always good. Mary Warnov is in here. Here's kind of a dormitory slasher type movie. I love this genre of movies where the killer's on campus, you don't know who it is. It's almost like an American Giallo movie. The House on Sorority Row. And this one came out in 1982. 92 minutes running time. It's a 2-disc set. You get a bunch of interviews on disc 2. And then they re-released it with the beautiful slipcover. And this is definitely one I recommend if you guys are slasher fans and you like the dormitory sorority row type movies. You would like that one. Next one's called Human Experiments. And this is kind of like a female revenge type movie. They do experiments on women and the women kind of fight back and get revenge. Jeffrey Lewis was always a very, very good actor. It's a movie from 1979. It's a good one. Okay, so moving along. Here we had a movie called Humongous. This comes with a slipcover. And this one, if I remember correctly, it was about an abused and neglected monstrosity of a child that was chained in the basement, and he became a bloodthirsty monster on a path of revenge, if I'm remembering this correctly. And they were on an island. I think let me see here, they took a boat out to an island. A group of teens on a boat find themselves in a fog-bound night to run aground on rocks of a mysterious dog island. So I do remember watching this. It has been a while, but it was a good one. I like it. Here's kind of like a post-apocalyptic action movie called Iron Warrior. This one is from 1986. It's rated PG-13, 87 minutes running time. Here's kind of a low-budget monster creature feature movie about killer crabs called Island Claws. Had fun with this one too. This is definitely like a drive-in style movie from 1980. 90 minutes. This is unrated. But if I remember right, it was a very tame movie. I mean, there was not a lot of gore and stuff like that. It was probably PG-13. Here's a movie called Joysticks. A comedy in the vein of like the early 80s arcade craze that we all had back then. I remember going to the arcade around this time. It was very, very popular back then. Stars Joe Don Baker, who was in Walking Tall, the Walking Tall trilogy. Here's another monster killer fish type movie, creature feature, called Killer Fish. Has Lee Majors, who was the $1 Million Man, and you got Karen Black. Margot Hemingway is in here as well. There's Margot right there. Movie from 1979, 100 minutes running time, rated PG. So that's another movie you would have probably seen at the drive-in theaters in the early 80s. Here's Mickey Spillane, The Girl Hunters. One of the Mike Hammer movies. 1963, 97 minutes running time. Kind of a espionage, private detective type movie. Next one's called The Monster Club. It's an anthology, from what I remember. It has Vincent Price and Donald Pleasance. Is it him? Is it Michael? Has he killed again? I'm sorry, that cracked me up in the latest Halloween movie when they had Donald Pleasance in the movie. It was very funny. I must have stopped and rewound that part like 10 times. I laughed my butt off watching that. But John Carradine is also in here too. There's Vincent Price. One hell of an actor. There's really good practical effects in this one too. Movie from 1980. 98 minutes running time. Here's one I put in a black case, but it doesn't really look good if you look at the aesthetics of the shelf here. Everything else looks pretty uniform, and then you get to the black case, it's a little bit wider, so I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that, but I mean, it looks good from the front there. You got the black, purple, and red with the yellow font, and the black case looks good. It just doesn't look as good on the shelf, and I thought this was a pretty good movie. Rated R. Let me see, when was this made? 1987. 90 minutes running time. Britt Eklund is in here. John Philip Law, he was a action star of the time. Here's Mortuary. Christopher George is in here again, and Linda Day George. Bill Paxton was in here. Let's see. Yeah, there he is, right there. Good movie. I enjoyed it. Here's the one I still have yet to see. It's called My Tutor. Kind of looks like a romance comedy. Hello. 1983, 97 minutes running time. That looks like... Oh, it is him, Crispin Glover. Couldn't think of his name right away, but that's Crispin Glover right there next to the boobies. Here's one that came with a slipcover called The Mummy's Revenge. Paul Naschy starring in this one. You get some pretty good bonus features. There's two different versions of the film. You get the complete cut, 91 minutes, or they're calling it the extended composite cut, 91 minutes, and a short version which is trimmed by 2 minutes. And it is in Spanish language with English subtitles, or you can watch it in English dubbed. And some of these Spanish horror movies are excellent, really, really good. They're a little bit more violent than like some of the earlier Universal stuff. They're a little more realistic, I think. Here's a Fulci film called Murder Rock. Beautiful slipcover. Not one of Fulci's best movies, but it was still fun and entertaining. Ray Lovelock is in here as well. I believe Ray Lovelock was in The Living Dead at Manchester Morgue. He was in a couple other things too. Next one's called Nashville Girl. I don't remember a lot about this one. A movie from 1976, 90 minutes running time, rated R. I don't believe I've ever seen this one. It doesn't ring a bell. We have some Chuck Norris action from the 80s, The Octagon. And when it came to early action movies from the 80s, Chuck Norris was in quite a few of them. Also stars Lee Van Cleef from the spaghetti western genre. Movie from 1980, 104 minutes running time. And these movies were great. We used to ride our bikes, me and my friend Steve, one of my very first best friends in the neighborhood, the old neighborhood back in the day. We used to go around and collect soda bottles, and because back then you could turn them in and get change. You know, they had that deposit. And we would ride our bikes up to the corner store and rent VHS tapes, and we always get Chuck Norris, Bruce Lee movies, stuff like that, Rambo. We got all those movies all the time. We must have wore those movies out. But that was a really great part of my childhood, and I'll always remember that. And we have a Dario Argento movie called Opera. And by the way, I still do see Steve from time to time. I talk to him. He's doing very well. Of course, it's not the same when you get older. You know, you kind of have your own family and your own lives, but I still do keep in touch with Steve all these years later. So this is Dario Argento's Opera, and then it was re-released in this 3-disc set, which is beautiful. The slipcover. And you get a new 2K scan. It has over 45 hours of extensive color correction. You get 3 presentations of the movie. You get on-camera interviews and all kinds of good stuff. That everything that you would need for a movie like this is in this little package. Here's a movie I happen to love quite a bit. It's Planet of the Vampires. I think this is, for low budget, I think it's beautiful. It's a great movie. It's one of my guilty pleasures. I like to pop this one in at least once or twice a year. It's a Mario Bava film, and I can tell that Argento kind of, you know, he borrowed a lot of his style. Argento must have really looked up to Bava because they have very similar filming techniques. Here's another kind of a sex comedy, The Pom Pom Girls. Movie from 1976. Here's a Fulci movie called The Psychic, starring Jennifer O'Neill. This is a pretty good movie. Very creepy in some parts. I enjoy it. Next one's called Puppet on a Chain. Looks like it's another kind of action suspense type movie. 1971, 99 minutes, rated PG. I believe this is another British movie, I think. You guys can always correct me if I'm wrong on that. Here's another serial killer movie called The Rain Killer, starring Ray Sharkey. Ray died at a very young age of the AIDS virus. I think he died the year I was in college, which would have been 93. I'll have to look that up. Next one's called Record City. It's another comedy. This one's really good. I had a good time with this one. Ruth Buzzy is in here. Rick Dees, you guys maybe remember him. Alice Ghostley, Frank Gorshin, Ted Lang, Larry Storch, who just passed away recently too, from the F Troop. Larry Storch was in here. This movie from 1977, rated PG. Yeah, this is a very good movie. It's definitely a period piece. You can see it from the clothing and the music that's in this. It'll take you right back to the 70s. It's a good feeling too. I love the 70s. I wish I can go back. Next one is called The Return, starring Jan Michael Vincent and Sybil Shepherd. Jan Michael Vincent was another one who had a very rough life. He passed away a few years ago. There's a young Sybil Shepherd, Martin Landau, Raymond Burr. A sci-fi, kind of a sci-fi horror type movie, I guess. And here's some underwater sci-fi horror called The Rift, starring Ray Wise. He was always a great actor too. There's Ray right there with the blue hat. You could see some of the practical effects of the underwater creatures. A movie from 1989, 82 minutes. And that looks like R. Lee Ermey. Let's see if that is him. It sure is. R. Lee Ermey. And he recently passed a couple years ago. Here's a movie I really enjoy quite a bit. This is probably one of my favorite backwoods slasher movies, called Rituals. It's about a group of guys who go on a vacation, kind of a outdoors weekend trip. And they get Hal Holbrook is in the movie. He stars in the film, and he always does a good job. Holbrook was a great actor. But they get harassed, and they are not wanted in the wilderness, put it that way. But I definitely recommend that one. That's a great movie, Rituals. This one was pretty fun too. This was a sci-fi / horror movie. Kind of a post-apocalyptic feel to it. And it was definitely kind of a drive-in style film. 1987, 79 minutes. And you can see that they had very low dollar costumes and stuff. But hey, it worked. It was fun. I enjoyed it. And then the last one for this shelf is called St. Jack, and I still have yet to watch this one. I don't even know what it's about, but I do like Ben Gazzara. And this is a Peter Bogdanovich picture. And Peter Bogdanovich just recently passed away within the last year or two. Here's a movie from 1979, 115 minutes, rated R. And I don't know what to say about this because I haven't watched it. But I'm going to pause it here for a moment, get something to drink, and we'll finish up the rest of it here. All right, so moving right along here. I'm going to try to slide these all the way down and then just pull them from the front here. It'll be a little bit easier that way. The first one is another Michele Soavi picture called The Sect, which was produced by Dario Argento. Very good. 1991, 117 minutes. That's a long horror movie. Brand new 2K scan. And you get an exclusive interview with the star, Thomas Arana. And you get an on-camera interview with director Michele Soavi. And then they re-released it with this beautiful slipcover. Herbert Lom is also in here too, who was the original Phantom of the Opera from 1963, I believe. So Herbert Lom is in this movie. I didn't realize this until now, but this was limited to 3,000. I got number 2537. I didn't even realize that was numbered. Here's a movie called Seizure. It's got that little guy from Fantasy Island, Hervé Villachez. The plane, boss, the plane, that little guy right there. Movie from 1973, 91 minutes running time. This one was kind of a disturbing movie called Short Eyes. I have to be careful how I describe this movie because it has material in this movie that would be very offensive to almost everybody. But it's about a guy who goes to prison. We'll just say that he would harm children, we'll put it that way. So the guy got put in prison for harming children in a very bad way. And the prisoners find out about it. His fellow prisoners find out about it, and they make his life a living hell. So it's, in a way, it's kind of a revenge movie. But it's very disturbing, and you get a feeling like you need to take a shower after you watch this movie. It's very creepy. I do recommend watching it, though, just to kind of experience that. But it's a movie from 1977, 100 minutes running time, rated R. It's called Short Eyes. short eyes is slang. You find out in the movie that it's slang for somebody who likes children, put it that way. So when they call this guy short eyes, it's not a compliment. And this was really good. I was pleasantly surprised about this one. I had seen this years ago on DVD. I was glad that they put it out on Blu-ray here, called Shredder. It's a wintertime, kind of a snowy setting slasher movie. Very good, very clever kills. You can see that he's holding a very sharp icicle. That was one of the scenes. There was some really good, clever kills in that movie. This one's called Silent Scream, starring Barbara Steele and Yvonne DiCarlo, Cameron Mitchell, Avery Schreiber. Yvonne DiCarlo, of course, she was Lily Munster. There's Avery Schreiber right there with the curly hair. Schreiber, not Shriver. Yeah, this was a pretty good movie. There's Barbara Steele right there. One of the original Scream Queens. This was very good, called Something Waits in the Dark, Barbara Bach. It also had another title, and I'm drawing a blank at the moment. Screamers. And this is an Italian creature feature about underwater monsters, and it's very good. You can see some of the practical effects. I always had a huge crush on Barbara Bach, who is the very lovely Mrs. Ringo Starr. That's Ringo's wife. This movie came out in 1980, 89 minutes. Love Barbara Bach. I would love to give her a big hug someday. This one was pretty good, called Sorceress. A very low budget, kind of a sword and sorcery type movie, starring Lee Harris and Lynette Harris. They were twins. I believe they were Playboy Playmates at one time, or maybe it was Penthouse. I don't recall. I know that they were nude models. They were twins that they like to pose nude. And when you see them in this movie, you'll understand why. And they are actually quite nude in that movie. Very nice looking young ladies. Which they're older than me now. I mean, but anyway. Here's another kind of a sorority slasher called Sorority House Massacre. Another good one. I think these movies are very fun. It's kind of a comedy, adventure, outer space type deal called Space Raiders from 1983. This is another very good movie. It's very fun. Serial killer movie called Stripped to Kill. Another Kay Lenz movie about a guy who's killing strippers. It's very bloody, very gory. Here's the Sword of the Valiant, kind of another sword and sandal or sword and sorcery type movie, starring Miles O'Keefe, who was Ator the Fighting Eagle, as well as some other movies he was in. This one's pretty good. It has a bit role by Sean Connery, who was the Green Knight for a very short time in the movie. This is a great movie here called Terror Train. It's another serial killer movie. It takes place on a train during the Halloween season, and everybody's in different masks and outfits and stuff, and the killer keeps changing his costume, so you never really know who it is, and it has a pretty good climactic ending. I liked it. This is a very good movie here called That's the Way of the World. Excellent music in this. It's another 70s kind of a throwback time capsule period piece, and it has Earth, Wind, and Fire, which I absolutely love Earth, Wind, and Fire. I think they're great. Harvey Keitel is in the movie. There's Maurice White, who passed away a few years ago. He was the lead singer of Earth, Wind, and Fire. They were excellent. I love their music so much. Here's Tower of Evil. This was pretty good, and then they re-released it with a slipcover. And this one has a really creepy atmosphere, and the tower that they go into, the atmosphere in that movie is really good, and it kind of sucks you in. Excellent movie. I would recommend that. Here's one called Tomboy, kind of another rom-com, romantic comedy from 1985, 91 minutes, starring the very curvaceous Betsy Russell. She was also an Avenging Angel, and she was in, it says here on the back, she was in the Saw films, but I don't remember that. Here's one called Too Scared to Scream, another slasher. Thought this one was pretty good too. This one's from 1985, 99 minutes running time. Here's another Barbara Bach movie called The Unseen. This was good too. Let's see if we can see the cutie on the back. I don't see her pictured on the back. Did this one have an alternate title as well? No. No, it didn't. I'll have to revisit this one again at some point because I'm kind of drawing a blank on it. I do remember liking it though. And you do get a bunch of special features there too. And then they re-released it with the slipcover. Same movie. Here's a kind of a wicked, kind of a gory Western called The Wicked Die Slow. It's from Canon Films. This is the unrated version of the film from 1968, 100 minutes running time. But it's a very kind of a dark take on the spaghetti Western movies. Yeah, there's some pretty nasty stuff that goes on in that one. Here's one called The Wild Eye, and I don't remember ever watching this one. It says he used a camera like most men use a woman. It says it was a controversial, devastating Italian film from the 1960s. The world of Mondo filmmakers try to capture the brutality of real life in front of their lens. So it's kind of like one of those shock type movies. Okay, so that was it for the Blu-rays. Now I have a little stack here of DVDs and then we'll wrap this up. First one's called Body Melt. I think this is kind of an anthology, but you can see it has really good practical effects in there. It's like a special effects explosion. And there's a twin billing here. You get The Devil's Men, starring Donald Pleasance and Peter Cushing. And you get Terror. But I'm not going to do my Donald Pleasance impersonation anymore. I know it's pretty bad. Next one here is called Double Exposure, which was released on Blu-ray by Vinegar Syndrome, which I also do have that one too. Then there's another twin billing here called The Dreaming and Initiation. Here's Humongous, Uncut. Here's one called The Last Grenade, starring Alex Cord, who is right there. Richard Attenborough is also in here, and Honor Blackman. James Coburn and Lee Grant in the Internecine Project. I think that's how you pronounce that. I'm not really sure. Here's Mortuary on DVD. Here's Point of Terror. And I think Code Red put out the Blu-ray for this one. Here's Satan's Slave, which was also put out on Blu-ray by Vinegar Syndrome. Here's Elliot Gould in Who. And the last one is called Ator, the Fighting Eagle, which has been put out on Blu-ray by Dark Force Entertainment. And they do a lot of work with, or they used to do work with Code Red. But I don't think Code Red is going to be putting out movies anymore. I'm not sure what's going to happen with that. But that's a shame because I really loved picking up movies from Code Red. Well, that was it for my, I guess, Scorpion releasing titles. So I hope I was able to give you guys some suggestions and maybe I piqued your interest on some of these movies. And if you'd like to, you can always suggest to me which ones that I'm missing that I need to grab. Well, thank you very much for watching. I always do appreciate it, and I appreciate those of you who continue to show me support by giving thumbs up and commenting on these videos. That means a lot to me, and believe me, I recognize you guys by name now. I keep seeing you comment, so it means a lot to me. So anyway, I will end the video here, and I'll catch you guys next time. Thank you.